iPhone 15 Pro versus iPhone 15 Plus. Which one to buy here? I've had both of these since launch day, so we're nearing 2 months with both of these phones. And if you haven't picked one yet, or you're still planning on choosing to buy one here soon, let's discuss which is going to be the better option. I had to use both of these for a while to really break them down for you here. So we'll begin by talking about the body, the build, the design. So in terms of the material choice, simply, if you want a phone that feels a little bit more premium, you're going to want the titanium iPhone 15 Pro. It feels a little colder to the touch in the mornings. It has just a little bit more of a luxurious kind of feel to it. It's a little bit heftier, so it gives it a solid sense of premium, but still much lighter than the previous Pro. So it's kind of got a mixture of compact, a mixture of premium, but also lightweight. But this one feels a little bit more dense than some of the other phones because the battery's kind of big for the size of a phone. It's well over 3,000 milliamp. Now, the iPhone 15 Plus has a nice balance of weight. It's an aluminum body, and it could be a little bit more durable potentially because the 15 Pros have been showing to crack a little bit easier than the 14 Pros, but full aluminum here, clean back. So that's a big difference from 14 Plus, is that when you touch the back, you don't really get a big issue. Now, some people aren't the biggest fans of the lighter color option, so I went personally with the matte black because I just think it looks amazing. But you could see on the edges here of the 15 Plus, this phone definitely also stays very clean to the touch. Overall, in terms of the back design and look, though, you have that dual camera setup versus that triple camera setup. Now, personally, I think Apple needs to update these cameras. They've been looking the same for years. But I think the 15 Pluses looks a little cleaner, although you do get more lenses and more versatility with the 15 Pro. You can see the width difference is also quite staggering. So if you don't like wide phones, you're going to want to go with the iPhone 15 Pro. Also, the camera bumps do stick a little bit more off the body on the 15 Pro, but both of them very nice premium bodies overall. I do like the 15 Plus though, because it is a nice balance of weight for its size. It's not a super heavy phone, but gives you a large screen experience. And both of them have on the edges, they just feel a little bit smoother, not as sharp as before. So both of these actually feel quite great in the hand. Both of them being flat displays also means that you don't have an issue with like accidental touches and things like that. And both of them do now have the dynamic island, with the dynamic island being something more new to the 15 Plus series. Okay, so from a display perspective, they both get equally as bright. So that's a new touch because usually the Pro was brighter. Not anymore. It's basically the same brightness here. They also do get the same pixels per inch. So whether you're paying less, which you are on the iPhone 15 Plus, let's go over here. If you go to App Store and you go here, if you look at any type of text, you're going to just see there's virtually zero difference. They both have around 460 ppi, with maybe the 15 Pro being one higher. It's not a big deal at all. We do have ceramic shields on both, so both of them are very, very solid in their display section. And like I said before, I always like on a bigger iPhone that you have more space, because the dynamic island is kind of an interruption, but having more space means even less to look at. You won't even be noticing it as much. Whereas I do tend to see it a little bit more because it's just on a smaller screen with the iPhone 15 Pro. There is one major upgrade if you go to the 15 Pro though, and that's ProMotion. However, I have to tell you, like I said in my 15 Pro video, or my 15 Plus review, my initial review, the singular video on this, you don't really notice it after a couple days. Nobody really cares once they've been using this phone for a couple of days. It's a really smooth 60 hertz panel. Don't get me wrong though. Apple still, there's no excuse for them not to put a 120 hertz or at least a 90 hertz on a $929 phone. I'm not giving them credit. I'm just saying 60 hertz on here is still not a deal breaker if you are just using this as a standard everyday iPhone. However, that's an upgrade here if you want it, but you're going to have to sacrifice a smaller screen. So, bigger screen or smoother screen, you take your pick. Whatever seems to jive more with you is going to be the option. There is one element, though, that really this one has over that phone, and that is the always-on display. Now, I think a lot of iPhone users don't even use this, but if you do and you want to finally take advantage of that, you have no other option between these two the always on display. Of course, you can go to the Max, but we're not doing the Max comparison right now. We're doing the base Pro because these are around the same price point. But yeah, you also have an action button, which is something you don't get on the 15 Plus. But again, you're going to want to see if that's something that you really either think about, if that's really something you're going to use. Because if you're not, it's not going to be another major deciding factor either. For me, I wouldn't choose based on the action button. It's just not that serious in my opinion. So we were pretty objective there on the displays, kind of just telling you the features and stuff. If I had to pick one personally, it was just my only phone. I probably would just sacrifice the 120 hertz because I would want the larger screen. I just would. If this was my budget and I'm like, I'm not going to the Max, Pro Max because that's too high, I would literally just get the 15 Plus personally. That's just my take because I like the huge screen for less money over the 120 hertz, but a smaller screen. It just seems like better value because, bigger on phones, bigger kind of is better because there's more space for everything, and bigger means bigger battery in the phone. So that whole thing about bigger is better is not always the case, but in the phone territory, it kind of is because there's more content display and you get a bigger capacity battery in the inside. Now, here's one where I wouldn't even think about the 15 Plus, and that is longevity with the chipset. I would definitely go with the 15 Pro because you have the A17 Pro chip. If you're the type of person who's like, I'm not upgrading my phone for 5 years, Nick, the 15 Pro is your move. It has the better chip. It's going to compete more with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, whereas this competes more with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. This has the Apple A16 Bionic, which is from last year. Has less RAM and a lower clock speed CPU. So if you are that power user, power users could use both of these. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say you can't do it here. This is basically an iPhone 14 Pro Max over here on the iPhone 15 Plus. But I'm just saying, if you're that type of person who knows you hold that phone for a super long time, you got to go with the latest chip because that's going to give you the longest longevity. In the real world, though, it's just the 120 hertz that makes the bigger difference right now. Also, I find that the iPhone 15 Pro, I don't know what it is, it just can get warmer to the touch than the iPhone 15 Plus. So the 15 Plus stays a little bit cooler in my experience. But honestly, the real factor you're going to notice is right now is the 120 hertz. That's the only speed difference you really notice on these two. Other than that, gaming, while benchmarking a little bit faster, it still runs amazing on the 15 Plus. So performance is not really the deciding factor until like the later years. So that's why I say longevity. Okay, so let's talk about which to pick in cameras. Well, it's pretty darn easy to decide here. It's right here. Do you want more zoom? That's it. Do you want a macro shot? That's it. There's not much else to decide of. Do you want raw? That's it again. Front-facing camera is basically the same. The standard lenses are basically the same on these two phones. So as long as you're not going to be doing macro raw and those really crazy long zoom shots, the 15 Plus is a great value. It can do 2 times zoom. You can zoom 10x, which is further than before. And you have all the base camera modes that you need. 4K 60, you have a 48 megapixel camera now, action mode. I think the 15 Plus has more of the consumer grade level, like where you're not just going to be going over the top. You're just going to use it as a base camera, which is what most people do. Even I do that a lot on my pros. 15 Plus is more than enough camera for most people. And you could still shoot amazing video. I don't care if you're using the base models. You can still get pro-like video if you shoot it properly or use camera apps to shoot that video. So the pro elements are the pro raw res, stuff like that. You got to really start using that stuff where you're just basically buying a 15 Pro for the zoom. So really that is the deciding factor for me. They have all the other same modes and all the results are going to turn out basically the same. So really decide on the factor, do I need that extra zoom? Do I need raw modes? And do I need macro, a dedicated macro mode? If you're into that type of stuff, 15 Pro is your only option here. But if you are like, no, I use my camera sometimes, I need a really good video camera sometimes, and I just use basic camera features, 15 Plus will do the trick easily for you. Actually, it will do more than the trick. It's pretty amazing. It's just this one has a little bit more than that guy. Okay, so when it comes to the battery life, we're looking at 100% capacity. Obviously, they're pretty new on both. The 15 Plus is so much better than the iPhone 15 Pro in my experience, like 2 hours longer. It's just much longer battery life, and they both don't charge super fast. But if you're looking for a phone that's going to take you the distance and then some, like the whole day and then some, 15 Plus, easy choice here. But if you're okay with a full day battery life and you want to sacrifice maybe a little bit extra longevity for the smaller size, the 15 Pro is fine as well. So the 15 Pro is a phone that I would choose if you don't care about topping up every night and you just want that compact form factor. It's still fine in the battery life, but the 15 Plus definitely beats it in my experience. And so also both of them do give you Face ID, the dynamic island experience. And if you want to make phone calls, a lot of people don't talk about this section, but I have to say I've been very happy with my phone call experience, mostly because with these 15, everyone across the line, I'll tell you why. I don't have the SIM in here right now. My SIM is back in my 15 Pro Max. But when I'm using these phones and I have the SIM in them, they have been having really good strength. The speakerphone quality on these is really good. That's another good thing. But it's because I compare it to the older iPhones, and I know a lot of you watching this are probably coming from an older iPhone, and just the 5G performance, the reception strength, those are all improvements that you probably, maybe it's not the most important thing to you, but it actually is better. So that's just something I had to mention. But if you're looking for better audio performance, we didn't really cover that. 15 Plus has it by a couple decibels, so it's a louder phone overall than the 15 Pro as well. Also, I do have to say, surprisingly, the iPhone 15 Plus, I don't really ever talk about this, but has a slightly less radiation ratings than the iPhone 15 Pro. I don't know if that's because it's a bigger phone, but if that's something that you're concerned about, this one definitely has that. USB-C transfer speeds are also a little bit slower on the iPhone 15 Plus. 15 Plus comes in multiple colorways: black, blue, green, yellow, pink, and this one comes in multiple as well. This is the blue titanium. It also comes in this natural titanium color option, black titanium as well. So yeah, you have pretty good options this year between these two. But if you're really deciding here, the one you're going to want to pick is the one that the things I was saying in this video, if you really felt like that was more you, pick that phone. Like if you like the bigger size, you like the camera design, you like the matte black, you're okay with the 60 hertz, you just want the bigger screen for cheaper, this is such a good phone, the 15 Plus. I'm just impressed with the 15 Plus because it's so much better than the 14 Plus in my opinion. Whereas the 15 Pro is really good as well. It's just kind of similar to the 14 Pro, just has really nice titanium. So honestly, it really just comes down to you. You can't go wrong either way. But at this price point, if you just want to save a couple hundred more, this is kind of like a mixture of both of them, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So thumbs up if you found the comparison helpful, entertaining, informing, and I'll catch you all in the very next episode. If you have more questions, comments, concerns, you know what to do. Drop them down below. Nick here. Be sure to be well. I'll catch you on the next episode, and peace.